Maya Chen wiped the sweat from her forehead as she adjusted the atmospheric processor readings on her tablet. The mining station on Kepler 442b had been her home for 3 months now, and she still wasn't used to the planet's dual suns creating such intense heat during the day cycles. At 19, she was the youngest xenobiologist ever assigned to a deep space mining operation, but her expertise in alien ecosystems had made her invaluable to the team. The red sand beneath her boots crunched as she walked toward the water reclamation facility. Something had been triggering the sensors for weeks now, causing mysterious fluctuations in their water reserves. Her supervisor, Dr. Martinez, insisted it was just equipment malfunction, but Maya's instincts told her otherwise. The readings showed consistent patterns, almost like something was deliberately accessing their water supply. As she approached the facility's outer perimeter, a shadow passed overhead. Maya looked up, expecting to see one of the mining shuttles returning from the asteroid belt. Instead, her breath caught in her throat. A massive creature soared through the crimson sky, its wings spanning at least 40 meters. The being's scales shimmered with an iridescent quality that seemed to absorb and reflect the light of both suns simultaneously. The creature landed with surprising grace about 50 meters away, its massive form creating small tremors in the ground. Maya should have been terrified. Every protocol demanded she immediately retreat to the safety bunker and activate the emergency beacon. Instead, she found herself frozen in fascination. The being before her was unmistakably draconic in appearance, but unlike anything from Earth's mythology. Its scales appeared to be made of some crystalline material that pulsed with internal light, and its eyes held an intelligence that was both ancient and desperate. The dragon's head turned toward her, and Maya felt a presence touch her mind. Not invasive or threatening, but gentle, like a whisper asking permission to enter. She had read about telepathic species in her xenobiology studies, but experiencing it firsthand was overwhelming. Images flashed through her consciousness, vast starfields, dying worlds, endless wandering through the cosmic void, and above all, an unquenchable thirst that had persisted for centuries. Maya slowly reached for her universal translator, a device designed to interpret alien languages through neural pattern analysis. As she activated it, the dragon's mental touch became clearer, translating into words she could understand. Small one. The voice resonated in her mind, carrying undertones of exhaustion and hope. I sense the presence of pure water within your dwelling. I have searched the cosmos for 700 of your years, seeking that which can quench the burning that consumes me from within. The translator worked both ways, allowing Maya to project her thoughts back to the creature. You're thirsty? She asked, her scientific mind racing with questions, while her human compassion responded to the obvious suffering in the being's mental voice. Thirsty, the dragon repeated, and Maya felt the inadequacy of the word through their connection. This wasn't simple thirst as humans understood it. Through the shared images, she saw glimpses of the creature's true condition, a genetic curse that prevented its body from properly processing most liquids, leaving it in a constant state of dehydration, despite consuming vast quantities of various fluids throughout the galaxy. My name is Zephyrian, the dragon continued, its massive head lowering closer to Maya's level. I am the last of the astral drakes of the Veil Nebula. My species was gifted with immortality, but cursed with an eternal thirst that only the purest water can satisfy. I have tasted the springs of 1,000 worlds, the ice of dying comets, the very moisture from nebular clouds, yet nothing has provided relief. Maya's mind reeled with the implications. Here was a being that had lived for centuries, possibly millennia, wandering the galaxy in search of something that might be readily available in their facility's reserves. The water reclamation system on the mining station was designed to purify and recycle every drop of moisture, creating some of the cleanest H2O possible through advanced filtration and molecular restructuring. Our water, Maya said slowly, it's processed through quantum filtration systems. It might be pure enough. She trailed off, realizing the magnitude of what she was considering. Sharing their water reserves with an unknown alien could jeopardize the entire operation. But looking into Zephyrian's ancient eyes, she saw a suffering that transcended species boundaries. The dragon's hope was palpable through their mental link. You would consider sharing your precious resource with one such as I. I have been turned away from countless worlds, hunted by those who fear my appearance, denied even the courtesy of explanation by civilizations that view me as a monster. Maya felt a surge of indignation on the creature's behalf. This was exactly the kind of xenophobic attitude that had motivated her to study alien life in the first place. Every being deserved compassion and understanding, regardless of their appearance or origin. "Wait here," Maya said, then immediately felt foolish for giving instructions to a creature that could easily destroy their entire facility if it chose to. "I need to check our reserves and see what's possible." As she turned toward the water facility, Maya realized her life had just taken an extraordinary turn. The routine assignment on a mining station had suddenly become a first contact situation with implications that could change everything. But more than that, she felt a deep personal connection to Zephyrian's plight. Perhaps it was her scientific curiosity, or maybe just her innate desire to help those in need. But she knew she couldn't simply walk away from this encounter. The dragon watched her go, its ancient gaze following her small form as she disappeared into the facility. For the first time in centuries, Zephyrian allowed himself to hope that his long quest might finally be nearing its end. Maya's hands trembled as she accessed the water facility's central console. The readings showed their reserves were at 87% capacity, more than enough to sustain the mining operation for months. But taking water for an unknown alien creature would require authorization she didn't have, and explanations she wasn't sure anyone would believe. She pulled up the molecular composition analysis of their processed water. The quantum filtration system didn't just remove impurities, it restructured water at the atomic level, eliminating every trace of contamination down to individual ion displacement. The result was H2O in its most perfect form, cleaner than anything that existed naturally in the universe. Through the facility's transparent aluminum windows, Maya could see Zephyrian waiting patiently in the red sand. The dragon had positioned itself in a resting posture, but she could sense the anticipation radiating from its massive form. The mental connection between them had grown stronger, allowing her to feel echoes of the creature's emotions. Maya made her decision. She activated a small sample container from the emergency supplies and filled it with exactly 1 liter of their purified water. If this small amount could provide relief to Zephyrian, she could figure out the larger implications later. If it didn't work, she would have only wasted a minimal amount of their resources. The sample container felt surprisingly heavy as she carried it outside. Zephyrian's massive head lifted as she approached, and she could feel the dragon's hope intensifying through their telepathic link. "This is a small sample of our processed water," Maya explained, holding up the container. "Our systems purify it beyond anything that occurs naturally. If this can help you, we can discuss larger quantities." Zephyrian's crystalline scales seemed to pulse brighter with anticipation. "Small one, your generosity already exceeds that of entire civilizations. I am grateful beyond words for even this chance." Maya carefully approached the dragon's massive head. Up close, she could see that what she had taken for scales were actually complex crystalline formations that seemed to channel energy throughout the creature's body. Each scale was unique, like a snowflake made of living gemstone. She poured the water into a depression in the rocky ground near Zephyrian's muzzle. The dragon lowered its head and carefully lapped up the liquid with a tongue that sparkled with the same crystalline quality as its scales. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The moment the water touched Zephyrian's system, the dragon's entire body began to glow with an internal light that grew steadily brighter. The crystalline scales resonated with harmonious tones that Maya could feel in her bones, creating a symphony of relief and healing. Through their mental connection, Maya experienced what Zephyrian felt. For the first time in 7 centuries, the burning sensation that had consumed the dragon's every waking moment began to subside. It was like watching a desert bloom after the first rain in decades. The water didn't just hydrate Zephyrian's body. It seemed to restore something fundamental to the creature's very essence. "By the stars of my birth nebula," Zephyrian whispered telepathically, and Maya could hear tears of joy in the mental voice. "The fire dims. The burning that has been my constant companion for so long, it lessens." But even as Maya felt Zephyrian's relief, she also sensed that the effect was temporary. The single liter of water had provided significant relief, but it wasn't enough to completely cure the dragon's condition. Through their connection, she understood that Zephyrian would need regular access to this level of water purity to maintain any semblance of comfort. "How long will this relief last?" Maya asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Perhaps a few of your days," Zephyrian replied, the mental voice now tinged with both gratitude and returning desperation. But this is more relief than I have known in centuries. Your water, small one. It is unlike anything I have encountered. It does not merely hydrate. It harmonizes with my crystalline matrix, allowing my body to properly process the liquid. Maya's scientific mind was racing. If their water could provide this level of relief, what would happen with larger quantities? Could they actually cure a condition that had plagued Zephyrian for centuries? The implications were staggering, both scientifically and ethically. Zephyrian, she said carefully, what if we could provide you with more water? Not just samples, but enough to potentially cure your condition permanently. The dragon's massive form went completely still. Through their connection, Maya felt a surge of emotion so powerful it nearly overwhelmed her. Hope, fear, disbelief, and desperate longing crashed together in Zephyrian's consciousness. You would truly consider such a thing? The dragon asked. I have nothing to offer in return save my eternal gratitude and protection. I am but a wandering relic of a dead civilization, carrying curses and memories that span the ages. You're not a relic, Maya said firmly. You're a living being in need of help, and we have the resources to provide that help. That should be reason enough. As she spoke these words, Maya realized she was committing herself to a course of action that would likely end her career and possibly put her in legal jeopardy. Mining operations had strict protocols about resource allocation and contact with alien species, but looking at Zephyrian, feeling the ancient pain that had driven the dragon across the galaxy for centuries, she knew she couldn't turn away. There will be complications, Maya admitted. I'll need to find a way to justify the water usage to my supervisors. But I think I can manage it, at least initially. The question is, how much water would you need for a complete cure? Zephyrian's mental voice grew quiet with calculation. If your water maintains this level of purity and effectiveness, I estimate that approximately 10,000 of your liters, consumed over the course of several weeks, might be sufficient to permanently restore my crystalline matrix to its proper state. 10,000 liters. It was a significant portion of their reserves, but not enough to endanger the mining operation. Maya found herself smiling despite the enormity of what she was contemplating. Then we'll find a way to make it happen, she said, surprising herself with her certainty. But we'll need to be careful about how we proceed. Maya spent the next 3 days carefully crafting her deception. She had never been good at lying, but Zephyrian's suffering provided all the motivation she needed to become convincing. The dragon had retreated to a cave system in the nearby mountains close enough to maintain their telepathic connection, but far enough to avoid detection by the mining facility's sensors. Dr. Martinez sat across from Maya in the facility's main briefing room, reviewing her fabricated report on tablet screen. Atmospheric moisture contamination? He asked, raising an eyebrow. The readings don't show any significant changes in our air quality. It's a slow-building issue, Maya replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. The contamination is accumulating in our water reserves at a molecular level. If we don't flush the system regularly with controlled water releases, we could face serious health risks within a few months. She had spent hours crafting this story, using real atmospheric data from the planet's surface and extrapolating potential contamination scenarios that were plausible but difficult to verify quickly. The beauty of her deception was that it required exactly the kind of regular water usage she needed to help Zephyrian. How much water are we talking about? Dr. Martinez asked, scrolling through her detailed technical analysis. Approximately 500 liters every 3 days, Maya said. We need to cycle it through the purification system and then dispose of it safely away from the facility. The contaminated water can't be recycled until we've completely flushed the accumulated toxins. Dr. Martinez frowned at the numbers. That's a significant resource expenditure, Chen. Corporate isn't going to be happy about increased water costs, especially on a mining operation where every supply shipment is expensive. Maya had anticipated this objection. Sir, the alternative could be catastrophic. If the contamination reaches critical levels, it could affect the entire crew's health and potentially shut down the operation for months while we wait for a complete system replacement. The cost of prevention is minimal compared to the cost of dealing with a full contamination crisis. She watched Dr. Martinez weigh the options, knowing that his primary concern was avoiding anything that might reflect poorly on his leadership of the operation. A health crisis would be far more damaging to his career than slightly elevated water costs. All right, he said finally. I'll approve the enhanced purification protocol for now, but I want daily reports on the contamination levels, and if this doesn't show improvement within 2 weeks, we're calling in a corporate inspection team. Maya nodded, trying not to show her relief. 2 weeks would be enough time to provide Zephyrian with several significant water treatments and assess whether her plan was actually working. That evening, Maya made her first official water delivery to Zephyrian. She loaded 500 liters of purified water into portable containers and used one of the facility's all-terrain vehicles to transport it to the cave system. The dragon was waiting for her at the entrance, its massive form silhouetted against the setting dual suns. "You have risked much for my sake," Zephyrian said as Maya began emptying the containers into a natural basin within the cave. "I can sense the deception you have woven to make this possible. Your kind calls this lying, but I perceive it as an act of compassion that transcends simple truth." Maya paused in her work. "I've never lied to my supervisor before. It feels wrong, but letting you suffer when I can help would feel worse." The dragon began consuming the water with obvious reverence, and once again Maya felt the waves of relief flowing through their mental connection. This larger quantity was having an even more pronounced effect than the initial sample. Zephyrian's crystalline scales blazed with internal light, and the harmonious resonance they produced was audible across the cave system. "The healing progresses," Zephyrian explained as the last of the water was consumed. "Your pure water is slowly repairing centuries of damage to my matrix. But I must share something with you, small one. My presence here will not remain secret for long." Maya felt a chill of concern. "What do you mean?" "Other members of my species, though few remain, can sense when one of us begins to heal from the thirst. They will come seeking the source of the pure water. Some may be desperate enough to take it by force." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. She had been so focused on helping Zephyrian that she hadn't considered the possibility of other dragons arriving. The mining facility's defenses were designed to handle equipment failures and minor external threats, not multiple beings capable of interstellar flight. "How many others are there?" Maya asked. "Perhaps a dozen scattered across this galaxy arm," Zephyrian replied. "Most have fallen into madness from the centuries of thirst. They may not be as reasonable as I have tried to remain." Maya sat down heavily on a boulder, the weight of her decision suddenly feeling much heavier. She had thought she was helping one suffering creature, but now she realized she might have inadvertently attracted a group of potentially hostile aliens to the mining facility. "I could leave," Zephyrian offered, sensing her distress through their connection. "I could take what healing I have received and continue my wandering, hoping it will be enough to sustain me." "No," Maya said firmly, surprising herself with her conviction. "We started this together, and we'll finish it together. If other dragons come, we'll deal with that when it happens. But I won't abandon you now." Zephyrian's massive head tilted, studying her with ancient eyes. "Your species possesses a remarkable quality, small one. Despite your physical fragility, you demonstrate a strength of spirit that rivals any I have encountered across the cosmos. Very well, we shall continue with the healing, but we must also prepare for the complications that may arise." As Maya drove back to the facility that night, she realized her simple mission to help a suffering creature had evolved into something far more complex and dangerous. But she also knew that she wouldn't change her decision, even knowing what was to come. Some actions were worth the risk, regardless of the consequences. Over the next several days, Maya continued her deception with growing confidence. She delivered water to Zephyrian every 3 days, each time watching the dragon's condition improve dramatically. The crystalline scales grew brighter, the mental connection between them became clearer, and Zephyrian's movements showed increasing strength and vitality. But on the 7th day of their arrangement, long-range sensors detected multiple objects approaching the system at impossible speeds. Maya's heart sank as she realized that Zephyrian's prediction was coming true. The other dragons had found them. The alarm system pierced through the facility's quiet morning routine as Maya rushed to the command center. Dr. Martinez stood before the main display screen, his face pale as he watched the sensor readings update in real time. 11 objects, all moving at velocities that shouldn't be possible, he muttered, running his hands through his graying hair. They're decelerating now, but their approach vector suggests they're heading directly for our position. Maya's stomach dropped as she recognized the energy signatures. Through her telepathic link with Zephyrian, she could feel the dragon's distress and anticipation. The other astral drakes had indeed found them, and they were arriving in force. "Sir," Maya said carefully, "perhaps we should consider evacuation protocols. These readings don't match any known ship configurations." Dr. Martinez turned to her with a sharp look. "Jen, do you know something about this that you're not telling me? Your atmospheric contamination report mentioned nothing about potential external threats." Before Maya could respond, the facility's external cameras detected movement in the sky. One by one, massive shapes began descending through the planet's crimson atmosphere. Unlike Zephyrian's graceful arrival, these dragons landed with obvious desperation and aggression. Their scales were dull and cracked, showing the devastating effects of centuries of unquenched thirst. Several appeared to be barely maintaining coherent flight patterns. The largest of the newcomers landed directly in front of the facility's main entrance, its roar shaking the entire structure. Through the external speakers, a harsh telepathic voice broadcasted to everyone in the facility, causing most of the crew to collapse in pain from the psychic intrusion. "Humans of this place," the voice thundered in their minds, "we sense pure water within your walls. We demand access to your reserves. Our thirst has consumed us for too long to be denied now." Maya felt Zephyrian's urgent mental contact cutting through the chaos. "Small one, you must reach me quickly. The eldest among them is Kirathon, and his madness runs deep. He will not negotiate as I did. He will simply take what he wants, regardless of the cost to your people." The facility's automated defense systems activated, but their energy weapons simply dispersed harmlessly against the dragon's crystalline scales. These beings had survived the vacuum of space and cosmic radiation for centuries. Human technology posed little threat to them. Dr. Martinez grabbed Maya's arm as she tried to move toward the exit. "Where do you think you're going?" "We need to get to the emergency bunker and send a distress signal." "Sir, I think I can help with this situation," Maya said, gently extracting herself from his grip. "I have some experience with alien communication protocols." It wasn't entirely a lie, though she couldn't explain that her experience came from days of telepathic conversation with Zephyrian. Dr. Martinez looked skeptical, but another bone-shaking roar from outside made him nod reluctantly. "Fine, but if this goes wrong, we're all dead anyway. Do whatever you can." Maya ran through the facility's corridors, dodging falling debris as the dragons outside grew more agitated. She could hear the sound of metal being torn apart as they began attempting to break into the water processing center directly. She reached the emergency exit and slipped outside, moving carefully around the perimeter toward Zephyrian's position. The sight that greeted her was both magnificent and terrifying. 11 dragons now surrounded the facility, each one massive and desperate. Their scales, once probably as beautiful as Zephyrian's, were now cracked and dim with the effects of their eternal thirst. Kirathon, the apparent leader, was indeed the largest. His scales had taken on a sickly gray color, and his eyes burned with a madness that made Maya's skin crawl. He was currently using his claws to tear apart the outer wall of the water facility, ignoring the sparks from severed power lines. Maya reached Zephyrian's position just as the dragon emerged from the cave system. The contrast between Zephyrian and the others was stark. Days of treatment with pure water had restored much of his former glory, while the newcomers appeared to be on the verge of complete physical and mental collapse. "Zephyrian," Kirathon's voice boomed across the landscape as he spotted his former companion. "So you have found the source and kept it for yourself. How fitting that the youngest among us would hoard salvation while his elders suffer." "Kirathon, listen to reason," Zephyrian replied, his mental voice calm but firm. "These humans have shown compassion beyond anything we have encountered. They are willing to share their water, but they cannot survive if you destroy their facility." The gray dragon's laugh was like grinding stone. "Compassion? From these tiny creatures? They fear us, as all beings should. We are gods of the void, and they are insects. We take what we need." Maya stepped forward, knowing she was probably walking toward her death but unable to remain silent. The universal translator on her belt activated. projecting her words both audibly and telepathically. "You're wrong," she said, her voice carrying farther than it should have thanks to the translator's amplification. "We don't fear you because you're powerful. We fear you because you're suffering, and suffering can make anyone dangerous. But we also want to help you." Kirathan's massive head turned toward her, and Maya felt the full weight of his ancient madness pressing against her mind. "A human speaks to us as equals? Your arrogance knows no bounds, little creature." "Not as equals," Maya replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "As someone who has something you need, and who wants to give it freely rather than have it taken by force." Several of the other dragons had stopped their destruction to listen to this unprecedented exchange. Maya could sense their desperation warring with curiosity. When had any being ever offered to help them voluntarily? "Our water reserves can heal all of you," Maya continued, gesturing toward the facility. "But only if the facility remains intact. Destroy it, and you destroy your only chance for a cure." Kirathan reared back, his voice filled with centuries of accumulated rage. "You think to bargain with us? We have been refused by countless civilizations, hunted by those who call us monsters, denied even basic compassion by beings who could have helped us. Why should we believe that you are different?" Maya felt Zephyrian's supportive presence in her mind, drawing strength from their connection. "Because I've already helped one of you," she said simply. "Look at Zephyrian. Really look at him. See what our water can do." For the first time, Kirathan's attention focused completely on his fellow dragon. The difference was undeniable. Where the others showed the devastating effects of their curse, Zephyrian radiated health and vitality. "It is true," another dragon spoke up, her mental voice filled with wonder. "His matrix shines as it did in the days before the curse fell upon us. The burning in his eyes has been extinguished." Maya sensed a shift in the group's mood. Hope, tentative and fragile, began to emerge from beneath layers of desperation and madness. But she also knew that this moment was crucial. One wrong word could still trigger a violent response that would doom them all. Maya stood in the center of what had become an impromptu amphitheater, with 11 desperate dragons arranged in a rough circle around her. The weight of their combined attention felt like standing under a mountain. But she forced herself to remain calm and project confidence through the universal translator. "Here's what I propose," Maya said, her voice carrying to each of the massive beings. "We heal you all, but we do it systematically and safely. Our facility has enough water reserves to cure every one of you, but we need time to process the quantities required." Kirathan's skepticism radiated through the telepathic field like a physical force. "Time? We have wandered for centuries, small one. What assurance do we have that you will not simply flee once we withdraw?" Maya had anticipated this concern. Through her connection with Zephyrian, she had learned enough about dragon psychology to understand that trust would be the most difficult obstacle to overcome. Centuries of rejection and hostility had left them suspicious of any offer that seemed too good to be true. "Because I'll stay here as assurance," Maya replied. "If I were planning to betray you, would I remain within reach of your retaliation?" A ripple of surprise passed through the assembled dragons. The concept of a human voluntarily placing herself at their mercy was apparently so unprecedented that several of them exchanged glances of confusion. Dr. Martinez's voice crackled through Maya's communicator. "Chen, what the hell are you doing out there? The long-range scanners show you're surrounded by those things." Maya keyed her communicator, knowing that her response would be heard by both the facility crew and the dragons. "I'm negotiating a peaceful resolution, sir. These beings are suffering from a medical condition that our water purification systems can treat. They're not here to attack us. They're here seeking help." "Medical condition?" Dr. Martinez's voice rose in pitch. "Maya, those are massive predatory aliens, not patients." Zephyrian stepped forward, his newly restored magnificence serving as a stark contrast to his desperate companions. "Your colleague speaks truth, human leader. We are not predators seeking prey, but sufferers seeking relief. Observe my restored state and understand what your cooperation could accomplish." The communicator was silent for a long moment. Maya could imagine Dr. Martinez struggling to process the situation. First contact with an alien species was supposed to follow strict protocols, involve government officials, and definitely not be handled by a junior xenobiologist making field decisions. Finally, Dr. Martinez's voice returned, noticeably shaken. "Chen, I'm going to trust your judgment here, but I need specifics. What exactly are you proposing?" Maya took a deep breath, knowing that her next words would either save everyone or doom them all. We establish a treatment schedule. Each dragon receives a measured dose of our purified water every 3 days, just as we've been doing with Zephyrian. With 11 additional patients, we'll need to increase our water processing capacity, but it's manageable. The water requirements for 12 dragons over several weeks would exhaust most of our reserves, Dr. Martinez pointed out. Not all of our reserves, Maya replied. Answer, consider the implications. We're talking about establishing peaceful relations with an ancient spacefaring species. The scientific and diplomatic value alone would justify the resource expenditure. Through her telepathic connection, Maya felt Zephyrian's approval and support. But she also sensed growing impatience from some of the other dragons. Kirathon in particular was struggling to contain his desperation. Enough talk, Kirathon interjected, his mental voice edged with barely controlled fury. You offer words while we burn with thirst. Prove your intentions with action. Maya nodded, understanding that demonstration would be more convincing than promises. Dr. Martinez, I need you to authorize an emergency water release. 2,000 liters run through the full purification cycle. 2,000 liters? Maya, that's far beyond the contamination protocol you filed. Sir, the situation has evolved. Please trust me. Another long pause, then the sound of resignation in Dr. Martinez's voice. Authorized? But Chen, if this goes wrong, we're both going to face court-martial proceedings that will make us wish these dragons had just eaten us. Maya turned to address the assembled dragons. The water will be ready in approximately 30 minutes. While we wait, I want to establish some ground rules to ensure everyone's safety. She was improvising now, drawing on every negotiation technique she had ever read about. The key was to make each side feel respected while maintaining clear boundaries. First, we treat the most desperate cases first. I can see that some of you are in worse condition than others. Maya gestured toward a smaller dragon whose scales had lost almost all their luster and whose movements suggested significant weakness. Second, the treatments take place in a designated area away from the facility. This protects my colleagues from accidental harm and gives you privacy during the healing process. Several of the dragons nodded approval at this suggestion. Maya realized that their imposing appearance hid a degree of vulnerability during the healing process that they preferred to keep private. Third, we establish a communication protocol. I'll serve as the primary liaison, but we'll set up a basic translation system so others can communicate if needed. Kirathon studied Maya with something approaching respect. You think like a strategist, small one. Very well, we accept these terms, provided the healing proves as effective as your companion suggests. As if summoned by their agreement, the facility's external speakers announced that the water processing was complete. Maya felt a collective surge of anticipation from the dragons, mixed with centuries of accumulated hope and fear. Sarathin, Zephyrian called to the weakest of the dragons. You should be first. Your need is greatest. The smaller dragon approached hesitantly, her movements careful and pained. Through the telepathic field, Maya could sense the depth of Sarathin's suffering. Where the others had maintained at least some dignity in their desperation, this dragon was clearly on the verge of complete collapse. Maya activated her communicator again. Dr. Martinez, we're ready for the first treatment. Could you have the water transported to the designated area outside the facility? On its way, came the reply. Maya, I hope you know what you're doing. As Maya watched the facility's automated transport system deliver the precious water to the waiting dragon, she realized that she was about to witness something unprecedented in human history, not just first contact with an alien species, but an act of interspecies medical treatment that could set the foundation for relationships spanning the galaxy. The moment Sarathin began consuming the purified water, her transformation began. The effect was even more dramatic than what Maya had witnessed with Zephyrian, perhaps because the smaller dragon's condition had been so much worse. Sarathin's scales brightened from dull gray to brilliant silver, and her telepathic voice, when it came, was filled with wonder. The burning, it fades. For the first time in 8 centuries, I feel peace. Over the following weeks, Maya established a routine that would have seemed impossible just a month earlier. Every morning, she would review the treatment schedule with Dr. Martinez, who had gradually shifted from skeptical opposition to reluctant fascination with their unprecedented situation. Every afternoon, she would oversee the water treatments, watching centuries of suffering literally wash away before her eyes. The transformation of the dragons was remarkable not just physically, but psychologically. As each astral drake received successive treatments, their personalities began emerging from beneath layers of desperation and madness. Kirathon, who had initially threatened to destroy the facility, revealed himself to be a natural leader with a sharp intellect that had been clouded by centuries of pain. Sarathin, the smallest of the group, possessed an artistic temperament and began creating intricate crystalline sculptures in the sand as her strength returned. "It's fascinating," Maya told Dr. Martinez during one of their evening briefings. Their entire social structure was disrupted by the curse. As they heal, they're rediscovering who they were before the thirst consumed them. Dr. Martinez nodded, reviewing the daily reports that Maya now filed honestly rather than through elaborate deceptions. Corporate headquarters had been surprisingly supportive once they understood the historical significance of the situation, though Maya suspected that their enthusiasm was largely driven by the potential commercial applications of establishing trade relations with an interstellar species. "The water consumption has stabilized," he observed. "We're actually using less than your original projections suggested," Maya smiled. "That's because the treatment becomes more effective as their crystalline matrices heal. Each dragon requires less water per session as their bodies regain the ability to properly process liquids." Through her ongoing telepathic connection with Zephyrian, Maya had learned the true history of the astral drakes. They had once been guardians of a vast galactic civilization, using their ability to travel between stars to maintain peace and facilitate communication between worlds. The curse that afflicted them had been the result of an ancient war, a bioweapon deployed by enemies who wanted to neutralize the dragon's effectiveness as interstellar peacekeepers. "The irony," Zephyrian had explained, "is that our enemies succeeded too well. By cursing us with eternal thirst, they eliminated us as a threat to their expansion. But they also eliminated the stabilizing force that held the galactic civilization together. Within centuries of our downfall, their empire collapsed into chaos and war. As the dragons healed, they began sharing more of their knowledge with Maya. She learned about star systems that harbored intelligent life, about technologies that could revolutionize human space travel, and about threats that moved through the cosmic void seeking worlds to consume. The implications for humanity's future were staggering. But it was during the final week of treatments that Maya made her most significant discovery. She was monitoring Kirathon's session when the Elder Dragon's telepathic voice took on an unusual tone. "Small one, there is something you must know about your species and ours. The connection you have forged with Zephyrian is not merely a product of your universal translator." Maya paused in her data recording. "What do you mean?" "Humans possess a latent telepathic ability that resonates specifically with our crystalline matrices. In all our centuries of wandering, we have encountered only two species capable of this level of mental interface with our kind. The first was our original bonded partners, who died out millennia ago. The second is yours." The revelation hit Maya like a physical shock. "You're saying humans are naturally compatible with dragon telepathy?" "More than compatible," Kirathon replied, his mental voice carrying undertones of ancient memory. "In the old days, each of our kind was paired with a telepathic partner from our companion species. Together, we could navigate the vast distances between stars, sharing consciousness across space and time. We have been alone since their extinction, but now..." Maya understood the implication immediately. "You're suggesting that humans could serve as partners for the surviving dragons?" "Not just suggesting, small one. I am certain of it. Your connection with Zephyrian grows stronger each day, and I sense similar potential in other members of your species. If humans were willing to form such partnerships, we could restore much of what was lost when our civilization fell." That evening, Maya called an emergency meeting with Dr. Martinez and the senior staff. The implications of Kirathon's revelation were too significant to keep private, and she knew that decisions about humanity's future relationship with the dragons needed to involve more than just her field judgment. "Let me understand this correctly," Dr. Martinez said, rubbing his temples as he processed Maya's report. "These dragons are offering to form some kind of telepathic partnership with humans that would give us access to interstellar travel and advanced technologies." "That's the basic idea," Maya confirmed. "But it's not just about technology. From what I understand, The partnership creates a genuine psychic bond. Humans and dragons would be sharing consciousness on a level that's never been achieved between species before. Chief Engineer Patel leaned forward in his chair. What are the risks? We're talking about allowing alien beings to access human minds directly. The dragons are equally vulnerable in the partnership, Maya replied. The connection works both ways. If anything, we'd be the ones gaining access to minds that contain thousands of years of accumulated knowledge and experience. Dr. Martinez looked around the room at his senior staff. This is obviously far beyond our authority to decide. We'll need to contact Earth immediately and involve the colonial administration. But Maya, I want your honest assessment. Based on your interactions with these beings, do you trust them? Maya thought about Zephyrian's gentle presence in her mind, about watching Seraphim create art from crystallized sand, about Kirathon's gradual transformation from desperate aggressor to wise counselor. She thought about the centuries of suffering these beings had endured, and how they had responded to human compassion with gratitude rather than conquest. I trust them completely, she said without hesitation. They've had multiple opportunities to take what they wanted by force, but they've chosen cooperation every time. They're not interested in ruling over humanity. They're interested in rebuilding the kind of civilization they lost centuries ago. As the meeting concluded and plans were made to contact Earth, Maya realized that her simple assignment to a mining station had evolved into something that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. But more than that, she had discovered something profound about the nature of compassion and connection across species boundaries. Walking outside after the meeting, Maya found Zephyrian waiting for her in their usual spot overlooking the facility. The dragon's scales gleamed with full health now, and his presence in her mind felt like coming home. You have told your leaders about the partnership possibility, Zephyrian observed. Yes, Maya replied. They'll need to involve Earth's government, but I think the response will be positive. Humans are naturally curious about new possibilities. Zephyrian's mental voice carried warmth and affection. Whatever the future holds, small one, I want you to know that you have given us something far more valuable than healing. You have restored our faith in the possibility of connection and understanding between species. That gift will endure regardless of what decisions are made. 6 months after the first dragon landed on Kepler 442b, Maya stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of the newly constructed Interspecies Cooperation Center. Representatives from Earth's government, the colonial administration, and 12 fully healed astral drakes had gathered to formalize what would become known as the Draconic Accords. The hall itself was a marvel of human and dragon cooperation. Traditional human architecture blended seamlessly with crystalline formations that the dragons had grown from the planet's mineral deposits. The result was a space that felt both familiar and otherworldly, symbolizing the new relationship between the species. Maya wore the formal uniform of a xenobiological liaison, a position that had been created specifically for her role in the ongoing partnership program. The title still felt strange, but she had grown into the responsibilities over the past months. As the first human to successfully bond with an astral drake, she had become the template for a new form of interspecies cooperation. Dr. Martinez, now promoted to Director of Interspecies Operations, called the assembly to order. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored dragons, we gather today to finalize an agreement that will fundamentally change humanity's place in the galactic community. Kirathon, speaking for the dragon delegation, responded with the formal telepathic protocol they had developed. His words were simultaneously transmitted to every human present through a network of translation devices based on Maya's original universal translator. Humans of Earth, we come before you not as supplicants seeking aid, but as partners offering alliance. Your species demonstrated compassion when you could have chosen fear, generosity when you could have chosen greed. These qualities mark you as worthy inheritors of the ancient compact that once bound our kinds together. The past months had been a whirlwind of discovery and preparation. Earth's response to the initial contact reports had been swift and decisive. Rather than approaching the situation with military caution, the government had chosen to embrace the opportunity for peaceful cooperation. Within weeks, teams of scientists, diplomats, and volunteers had arrived on Kepler 442b to study the partnership phenomenon and establish formal relations. The bonding process, as it came to be known, was voluntary for both species and resulted in a permanent telepathic connection, that enhanced the abilities of both partners. Humans gained access to the dragons' vast knowledge and their ability to survive in space, while dragons regained their role as guardians and guides, no longer isolated by their immortal existence. Maya had watched 23 successful bonding ceremonies over the past months. Each one was unique, but all followed a similar pattern. The human and dragon would meditate together, gradually opening their minds to each other until the connection formed naturally. The process couldn't be forced or rushed. It required genuine compatibility and mutual respect. The practical benefits of this alliance are clear, continued Admiral Sarah Chen, Earth's representative to the negotiations. Access to interstellar travel capabilities, advanced technological knowledge, and protection from cosmic threats that we're only beginning to understand. But beyond the practical considerations, this partnership represents something unprecedented in human history. True cooperation between species on equal terms. Zephyrian, who had remained Maya's bonded partner throughout the process, stepped forward to address the assembly. Over the months, their connection had deepened beyond simple telepathy to become a true sharing of consciousness. Maya could access Zephyrian's memories of ancient civilizations and cosmic phenomena, while the dragon experienced human emotions and perspectives with an intensity that surprised them both. The astral drakes accept humanity as our new partner species, Zephyrian announced. Together, we will restore the ancient order that once maintained peace among the stars. But this time it will be built on cooperation rather than dominance, on understanding rather than force. The formal ceremony concluded with the signing of documents and the telepathic recording of agreements directly into dragon memory matrices. But for Maya, the real significance lay in what the alliance represented for both species' futures. Earth would establish permanent bases throughout the galaxy, with human dragon teams exploring new worlds and making contact with other intelligent species. The knowledge gained from dragon memory banks would accelerate human technological development by centuries, while human creativity and adaptability would help the dragons develop new approaches to their ancient responsibilities. But perhaps most importantly, both species would no longer face the universe alone. As the official ceremonies wound down, Maya and Zephyrian retreated to their favorite spot overlooking the mining facility where their partnership had begun. The modest building had been preserved as a memorial to the moment when a young xenobiologist's compassion had changed the course of galactic history. "Do you ever regret the choice you made that first day?" Zephyrian asked through their mental link. "Your life would have been much simpler if you had simply followed protocol and reported my presence to your authorities." Maya smiled, watching the dual suns set over the red landscape that had become her home. "Simple isn't always better. Besides, I've gained something I never could have imagined back then." Through their connection, she felt Zephyrian's curiosity. "What have you gained, small one?" "A perspective that spans millennia, knowledge of civilizations that rose and fell before humanity even existed, and the ability to travel between stars as easily as walking across a room. But more than that, I've gained a friend whose loyalty will last across the ages." Zephyrian's mental warmth enveloped her like an embrace. "As have I, Maya Chen. As have I." In the distance, they could see other human-dragon pairs taking to the skies, beginning their journeys to distant stars where new adventures awaited. Some would explore uncharted worlds, others would make contact with alien civilizations, and still others would stand guard against the ancient threats that moved through the cosmic void. But all of them would carry forward the lesson that Maya had learned on that first day when a desperate dragon had asked a human girl for a simple drink of water. That compassion transcends species boundaries, that understanding can bridge any gap, and that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures begin with the simplest acts of kindness. The age of human-dragon partnership had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the last light faded from the alien sky, Maya and Zephyrian rose together into the star-filled darkness, ready to explore whatever wonders awaited them among the infinite reaches of space. Behind them, the small mining facility stood as a monument to the moment when humanity chose compassion over fear, and in doing so, claimed their destiny among the stars.